Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Plush Robot Podcast. My name is Zack, and let's go ahead and KO this thing. Wow, it is officially 2020. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone had a safe and fun New Year's Eve. I know I did, playing Mega Monopoly with my family and not really watching any of the New Year's shows because we were in a 4 to 5 hour long game of Monopoly. That game gets so crazy intense when you play it, especially the Mega Edition where you have all the extra new properties, you have skyscrapers, you have $1,000 bills, bus tickets, just all these brand new features that just keeps it going and going and going. But yeah, just wanted to generally wish everybody a happy new year. I feel like 2020 is going to be great. And speaking of what happened recently in the news, I wanted to talk a little bit about our boy, comedian Ricky Gervais. Now, in the past, I was a big fan of some of his work on shows like Extras and his stand-up, and even the Ricky Gervais show on HBO. And he's been a regular at the Golden Globes, just roasting everybody. Now, in the advent of the age of social media, you kind of really do get a sense of how people really are and what their true colors are. And listen, even though I fairly enjoyed Ricky Gervais' speech this year at the Golden Globes, where he's calling out, every one of the celebrities, and they just looked super uncomfortable. Some of them laughed, but then some of them groaned during the Jerry Epstein joke, which I'm like, ooh, you guys busted. But the issue I have with Ricky is the way he behaves on Twitter. And he has had a documented history of just blatant and not afraid to double down on transphobia. And as someone who has best friends of mine who are trans, who are just trying to get by through the day, it's really disappointing to see that from him. Because if you do, not even adding him, if you just mention his name, he especially will come after you and then respond and give off the whole, oh, well, you just can't joke about anything anymore. Oh, everyone's so offended these days. Oh, SJW this. Oh, PC culture this. Blah, 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 blah. Ricky, that's not the point. The point is that these group of individuals who are in the LGBT community are having their rights stripped from them, from our own government, and still getting mistreated to this day. So, it's one thing, because I know in your whole career you've done nothing but shocked and offended, and that was, whatever in the past. But especially now, when it comes to a topic as big and relevant as this, it just comes off as you being extremely tone deaf. And not only that, but at the Golden Globes, as much as I appreciated you calling out every one of the elite celebrities out there, you are no different. You're in that same club, dude. Like, let's be for real. And then you saying like, oh, I don't want to hear anything political and blah, 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 blah. Well, you sure don't have a problem, just striking down people who have a problem with, your views on trans people. So that's very hypocritical on your part, sir. And I want to say this, you can joke about anything in 2020. You can. You just don't need to be a dick about it. It's that simple. But when it comes to Ricky, ooh, man, like I said, his behavior has been documented very well on Twitter. And there are just a few examples right in my notes. Posted one selfie with the caption, "My preferred pronoun is it," with some really stupid face he's doing. Oh, the biggest one yet is him aligning with J.K. Rowling, because that recently came out that she had some very turfy views, which a turf is a trans exclusionary radical feminist, and they're it's a disgusting movement, and backing J.K. Rowling on her views, and it's just really gross. And then, like I said, there are plenty of tweets of him just doubling down on like, oh, well, you're just offended and blah 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 blah. So yeah, you know what? Was a favorite of mine, but not so much anymore. And hey, the same thing goes with Kevin Hart. Look, I was never a big fan of Kevin Hart to begin with, but yeah, him just saying like, "Oh, if my son were gay, I'd beat the shit out of him." Just like, come on, dude. Like, you know what? There are gonna be people like that. People like that exist in this world, and I don't vibe with them. You know, and it's sad. It is such a sadness. And that's what a lot of people do, especially when you scroll through your Facebook feed and then they share, that one clip. So, I've seen that a few times where people share the monologue of Ricky just going off, and they're just going, "Oh my God, he is so true. He is so woke. Oh my God, he's destroying woke culture. Oh my God, blah 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 blah." And they tried to do the same thing with Dave Chappelle with his latest special, which, you know what? His latest special I felt was very funny, but some of it was a little like, oh, Dave, this is a little, this doesn't sound like you. And then, a lot of, you know, politically driven, especially a lot of the conservative pages will go off and be like, "Oh my God, Dave Chappelle is so woke. Oh my God, Kanye West, he has been totally red pilled, blah, 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 blah." Like, oh my God. They just want to boast it up and then try to give them, all the credit, and then so that they can align with them. But hey, as far as Dave Chappelle's concerned, no, he's not aligning with you guys, not so much. No, 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 no. But yeah. So all in all, just this whole thing with Ricky Gervais. I mean, the monologue, great. I felt it was awesome with him calling out every one of the celebrities, but then for him to be like, "Oh, don't get political, blah 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 blah. No one cares." It's like, that's where I lost you, dude. That is where I lost you. Whew, okay, well, enough of that, because that has been driving me crazy lately. We're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite animes growing up, and that happens to be Mobile Suit Gundam. And you're probably going to be asking me, well, Zach, which series? I'm going to tell you right here, almost all of them. I absolutely love almost every Gundam series. Slowly getting into the newer ones like Iron Blooded Orphans, and I watched a little bit of Double O recently. When I was a kid, like I couldn't get into it because it was a little too weird, but now I was missing out. And even I watched Thunderbolt all the way, which was, if you put Gundam and Cowboy Bebop together, that is what you are going to get. So my little history with Gundam happened when the original Toonami was on Cartoon Network. And I'm not talking about Toonami now. I'm talking about way back in the 2000s, where it was Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Rurouni Kenshin, Tenchi Muyo, even Hamtaro. Yes, I remember they played Hamtaro a lot. And my introduction to Gundam, Gundam Wing. When I first saw this show, it absolutely blew my mind because I didn't really pay attention to it. Then again, I didn't really pay attention to Dragon Ball Z, except that Goku and Vegeta were always yelling and fighting, and then Frieza was there, and then there was Majin Buu, and then there was Cell, and then they were always yelling. But what I did pay attention to when I watched Gundam Wing was the Gundams. And it was just crazy to see that them piloting these humanoid mech things and just fighting each other. And little did I know that here in the United States there was a big toy line for Gundam Wing. And I remember buying my first Gundam action figure, which was Wing Gundam with was it with the gold? Because they did have a version where Wing's horns, like the yellow horns, they were like gold. They did have a version of that. No, I think it was just the yellow one. But yeah, Wing Gundam was the first Gundam I ever owned. And since then, I'd always try my best to keep up with Gundam Wing. And then Toonami started playing a bunch of other Gundam series, which I was surprised because I knew nothing about the other series, just only Gundam Wing. Until one day, I think I was out with my family, and back when EB Games was a thing and not GameStop, they had a figure of Gun Cannon, which I was confused. I'm like, what? This is a Gundam? This doesn't look like a Gundam. But then I realized Toonami was also playing the original Universal Century show. And I enjoyed that as well. And they played a lot of the Gundam OVAs. I'm talking they played 08th MS Team. They played 0080, 0083. Char's Counterattack, I remember them playing, and a lot of the toys from those shows came out. And then it was a strange phenomenon because I know Gundam is still huge in Japan and it's still going strong, but in America it was only a fad because when Gundam Wing was big in the US, like it was like crazy. You had all the merch and even Mobile Suit Gundam and all the other shows. Like the toys were just selling like crazy. And even I can remember one time my parents were having a house party. They had a couple people over and I still had my PlayStation 1. And I think this was in... What year was this? I think this was 2000, maybe 2001. But my mom surprised me and my two brothers saying that, hey, guess what? I got you something. And then we closed our eyes, and it was a copy of Gundam Battle Assault for the PlayStation 1. And we were like, oh my god, no way! And then we played the game. It was a Gundam fighting game in the style of like Street Fighter. And I played that game so much. And I'm not going to tell you, when the PlayStation 5 comes out, and if it's true that it's going to have backwards compatibility, I am going to find a copy of either Battle Assault 1 or 2 on eBay, because I would love to play that game again. But yeah, it was huge. And then I remember, I think it was like 2003, 2004, Toonami decided to air another show, G Gundam. That show was pretty strange to me because now we were introduced to the concept of the mobile fighter. And so a regular mobile suit, for those who aren't familiar with Gundam, so a mobile suit is a Gundam where you go inside the cockpit, you have controls, you control the legs and the arms and the weapons and who you shoot at and whoever. But a mobile fighter, the cockpit, you still have a standard cockpit, but it goes straight up in elevators to the head of the Gundam. And then every motion you make, you're in this like mocap kind of suit thing, or I don't know what it is, some battle suit. And every movement you do, like, so if you punch your right arm, the Gundam right punches. So every movement you make, the Gundam moves as well. So it definitely, predates Pacific Rim. but I think Pacific Rim got its inspirations from Evangelion instead, because there are some similar things with the Jaegers and the Ava units. But yeah, when G Gundam aired, it was weird because the regular toys, they still had the regular Gundams, but they had a new line called Gundam Battle Scarred, where they showed like battle damaged versions of the Gundams throughout the show. So there was a battle damaged RX-78-2, where you could do the final shot from the last episode of Mobile Suit Gundam. And there was one of RX-79, Ground Type Gundam. There was one of the wing models from the movie Endless Waltz. I remember I had the Wing Zero custom one. That one was the coolest one, with like the eye kind of blown out and the wings like all shot up and everything. It was so cool looking. And the G Gundam toys, I remember, because a lot of the ones that were on the store shelves were really silly and ridiculous. Like there was Zebra Gundam, there was Windmill Gundam, Royal Gundam was cool. The Neo London one was cool. I forget, there was really a Grizzly Gundam had a chainsaw. I'm like, what the hell is this? So yeah, and so the show goes, and you know, when I was a kid at that time, and especially when G Gundam ended, they aired another show afterwards, which, looking back, I was like, this is the stupidest show in the entire world. And it was SD Gundam. And I kind of tolerated it because I'm like, okay, it's kind of goofy and whatever. The three main Gundams in the show, they have personalities. And they weren't piloted by anyone. They were actually living, breathing on their own. And they had little like SD versions of like all the past Gundams from every show, which was cool. I think I had the Zaku 2 one. But looking back, I felt like that sort of killed Gundam in the United States. Because when I was a kid at that time, like I just kind of tolerated it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then they aired Gundam Seed a little bit, but unfortunately, this was right around the time when Toonami was really like on its last legs, and it wouldn't be until years later it came back on Adult Swim. And so I remember watching maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Gundam Seed, and I could not get into it. It was just, I don't know. It just seemed. Then again, I was what? Think I was, how old was I? Like 12 at the time? Yeah, I was 12 years old. It came out in like '06 here in America, as far as I can remember. And it was just, I kind of moved on to other stuff. Like I moved on to getting into Star Wars and Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, I was still kind of sort of into Yu-Gi-Oh and, you know, playing the Pokemon games and whatever. But I was just like, I lost interest just from the show. But the toys, like I had one of a Dual Gundam, and that was pretty cool. And then, just like that, you could not find Gundam anywhere. I mean, it was just scrubbed cleaned. It was gone. You go to any Toys R Us, you go to any KB Toys, you go to any Target, Gundam was just like gone, disappeared. And, you know, it always puzzled me to that time. Like, why did they get rid of Gundam? Like, I still enjoyed it, but I did research it online, and the main factor was that G Gundam killed, you know, Gundam's potential in America on some form. I think it was some IGN forum or whatever. Is that G Gundam really didn't do all that well as far as like Toonami's ratings go, and then SD Gundam just made it worse, which, looking back at that, I'm just like, oh, I am not surprised whatsoever. Because I watch SD Gundam now and I just cringe at how just awful that show was. I mean, they try to incorporate comedy, and maybe in Japan it made sense, but it was just not that great of a show. And then I've never really fully gotten to Gundam Seed. I probably will give it another chance. And yeah, but I do hear good things about Seed Destiny, and I might watch that. But yeah, so even to this day, I still love Gundam. I have a Jim Jim unit model kit from Gundam Build Fighters, which I've seen bits and pieces of that show. That show looks awesome. I got my Jim Jim unit sitting on my dresser, along with my Nintendo Switch and my Neo Geo Mini and all my games. And then I have a Char Zaku 2, which I have yet to build. Still in the box. One of these days I'm going to put it together. And then for Christmas, because I got a bunch of gift cards, I have an early type gun tank coming in from Amazon. But it's coming in January 15th through the 31st, because the models that I order, or the ones that Amazon stocks, they literally get them from Japan, which is crazy, but it makes sense. So I can't wait to build that, and I want to do some weathering to my Jim Jim unit because I lost the one of the yellow vents somewhere. I don't know what happened to it. I've tried looking for it everywhere, all over my carpet and everything, and I still can't find it. But yeah, so that's my little history with Gundam, and I just feel like it's a great, phenomenal anime. And it really, when you're older and you pay attention to it more, like the overall concept of just like war is hell, it's such a good, riveting story, because even like the original show is still great. Oh wait, MS Team, I highly recommend that OVA, because it's really like if you took the movie Platoon and put Gundams in it, that's what you're gonna get, because it has a real kind of, just that jungle environment just gives you that Vietnam War kind of feel to it. And then that opened me up, years later, to me discovering more mecha anime like Evangelion, which, I gotta thank my friends Avery and Jake, shout out to them, for getting me fully invested into Evangelion, because I knew of Evangelion, but I never really paid attention to it, but I knew it was always there, because whenever I'd go searching on YouTube, or go to many anime themed websites, Evangelion was always going to be brought up, or you'd see Ava 1 or Shinji or Asuka or whoever. But there was this really cool moment when I went to Anime Boston with my ex-girlfriend Sam in 2016. And it was my first convention going there, and I dressed up like Castiel from Supernatural. And we were walking around to the dealer's room and Artist Alley, and there was a cosplayer of Asuka and Ava 2. And what was cool about the Ava 2 cosplayer, that it was damaged, just like an End of Evangelion, like right down to the detail, to the eyes, and I just geeked out, and I got a picture of them. Unfortunately, it was on an old phone, but I think I have them on Facebook, and one of these days I'll probably post that onto my Twitter sometime, because that was really just one of those cosplays that just blew me away. I was like, oh my god! But what kind of was sad was that they were supposed to be part of the masquerade, and I guess for whatever reason they dropped out of it, which I was kind of bummed out. I was like, oh, because usually for the masquerade at Anime Boston, there's always skits and everything, and it was probably going to be a recreation of Asuka's death in End of Evangelion. But what made it up is that there was a Crossbone Gundam cosplayer who walked on stage, and I was blown away. Like, his costume was just lit up. He had all these lights and everything. And oh my god, it just absolutely blew my mind, because that was one of the coolest cosplays I have ever seen at that time. But alright, that's going to do it for this episode of Plush Robot. Make sure you follow us on Podbean at plushrobot.podbean.com. Also follow us on Spotify. Yes, Plush Robot is now on Spotify. Just search for the name Plush Robot and just click that follow button. And we're also on YouTube. If you just type in Plush Robot Podcast, please subscribe to the channel because we upload all of these podcasts a day later. And that's going to do it for this episode, and we will see you guys next weekend, which will be this upcoming weekend, because I meant to post this past weekend, but I had a bunch of family stuff happening. But this weekend, you're going to hear another episode, probably this Sunday. All right, guys. Until then, this is Zach. Peace out.